Hello folks. In this video, I'm going to go over what happened today, and I'm going to compare it to the corporate formal complaint that I'm about to fax, just to make sure if I missed anything in the corporate complaint. Because today was quite eventful. I was in a really bad mood for a long time, and I cussed out, well, one of the nurses that I actually like, but you'll find out why I used the F word, the F bomb. You'll find out why I'm mad. These are my brand new glasses that the nursing home gave me that have bifocals. I think they're a little big, but maybe this is normal for someone my size. I don't know. All right. So what happened today? Well, it really started yesterday. So what happened was that, and I've tried like hell to like this girl. I did like her, but I thought was who she really was, but she's just another backstabber. So I really don't care, anymore. I'm so used to backstabbers, especially here, that it doesn't really faze me when I find out that's what they're like anymore. And this goes beyond it. See, there is being cordial with somebody, which is what these professionals should do. Cordial and professional. And then there's pretending you're on friendly terms with somebody and then stabbing them in the back. Two different things. One is not, I'm being nice to him, and then he got mad at me because I'm about to talk about, really. And all of a sudden that gives him a reason to be hateful to me. No, not at all. But this is what happened starting yesterday. The girl that got me up yesterday, I was having here we go with this. Here we go with the yawning again. I have an ileus. I don't know if you know what that is, but what was explained to me is that it's not quite a blockage, but that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like a blockage to me, but it's not really. And I guess because it allows the fluids, which is mainly water, to go by without allowing any of the other waste to go by right away. I don't really understand how it works. But so when it flares up really bad, I guess it's called a flare up. This yawning every time I do a video. I don't know if it's really called a flare, but it's like water. It's not exactly, the runs or whatever, but it's just actually water. Most of these CNAs think that I've took a leak on myself or something. It's not. It's come out the other end, and then a lot of it. Well, it started out a little bit, and then I started to suspect. So I'm constantly asking them, what came, it was a gas, blah, blah, blah. So I can kind of keep track of it, because I spent a month and a half in the hospital trying to fix this. And they never really did. They said it's going to take years if it ever goes away. All right. So yesterday I had that issue, and it was quite a lot. And when she was getting ready to get up, she put a pull-up on, which is like it depends. It's like that kind of thing. So she was putting that on, and she had me roll over so she could pull up. And when she did, there was a lot of, I could tell there was a lot of fluid count. Well, I said to her, well, I guess you're going to have to rechange me. And she goes, oh no, everything's fine. There's nothing came out. That was just gas. Now, I knew that some fluid came out. I said, okay, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. She can see. Doggone it. That maybe it wasn't all gas, but it was mainly gas, whatever. Then I rolled over on my back because they have to put a sling under me to pick me up with this machine that puts me in my wheelchair. And when I rolled over, I put my hand down on the mat, the sling that was under me, and there was a little bit of wetness. And I said, well, I think, obviously, I must have done something because I think this is wet. And then she proceeded to tell me that the fitted sheet, is wet. That's what I'm feeling. And that's from her putting the wipes down, which are, they have aloe or whatever in them. Well, I said, no, it's not. That's from the fitted sheet being stretched. When you stretch materials to the point where it becomes thin in a spot, that's what's going on here. Because this fitted sheet is not the right size for this mattress. It's actually too small. They had to tear it, at least down there, at the bottom of where my feet. There I go with this yawning again. They had to tear it down there. And it's got on both sides, it has a thin spot where it's been pulled. But she lied to me and told me it was wet. She said, look, I'm touching it, it's wet. Now I let her go. I'm like, oh, whatever, it's probably maybe a little bit. Well, when she put me in my chair, she puts a brand new pair of shorts on me and puts me in my chair. As soon as I'm in my chair, I'm like, I'm soaked. My butt was soaked. And I'm like, well, it's too late now. I'm already in the shorts, and it's pretty much just water. I wasn't happy about it. But what am I going to do? She obviously wasn't going to change me again. And this goes to the verbal abuse and intimidation that's in both the local and the corporate complaints. Because the people that work here, they make you feel guilty about making them do their job. What she should have done is pulled that back off of me, cleaned me up, and put a new one on me. But she didn't want to do that. And I, like a dummy, went along with it because I'm getting to the point where I'm being, I do go off on them. I mean, worse than anybody, I guess. But I also let them slide a lot because they're starting to intimidate me. I'm starting to be intimidated by the fact that they make it seem like I complain a little too much. Well, I wouldn't complain if you do your job. And that's what this is talking about, verbal abuse and intimidation. It's everybody, the CNAs all the way up to the staff, to the management. They seem to think that I complain too much. They actually sent somebody in here, put me on a, what's it called, anti-anxiety medication, which had nothing to do with what I talked to her about. And, because with MS, it burns out centers in your brain, so you end up with some type of depression. And I have ADHD, evidently, because I had been on Ritalin at one point, and this other doctor did. But she could put you on anti-anxiety. Maybe that's a depression thing, I don't know. It's not really doing anything, I don't think, but... Anyway, where was it? Oh, they think that I complain so much that they actually had this woman put me on a medication because of my complaining. And they had people talk to me. Well, they approached me to be talked to because I was complaining too much. That's why the intimidation and the verbal abuse. Because you shouldn't be talking to me. I've actually had somebody say, well, you get a little too excited about Yeah, I do. I get excited when you put my life in danger. Yeah, it tends to get me a little hot when you reschedule my infusions over and over and over, and then you don't. For the first 5 months I was here, I didn't even have an infusion. Was it maybe 4 months? It was several months. I didn't even have an infusion. I was completely unprotected. I wouldn't doubt at all that I got worse, that I had a relapse and I got worse during that period of time. You know, because the administrator didn't want to pay it. You know, I am, everybody here is a paying customer in a facility. This is no different than a motel. I've said this before. I said it to the administrator. He agreed with me. Only he called it a 5-star hotel. I wouldn't go that far. But it's a hotel. It has housekeeping. It has maintenance. You know, the thing it has different is the medical. Okay? But they're like the concierge or whatever. When you need something, you go to the concierge. Well, this is kind of like that when you need your medications. All right? So it's kind of like that. But they act like we're invading their workspace. Well, you know, I kind of understand what they're talking about because I remember feeling that way. But I was never in this environment, you know, where you're supposed to give us a privacy. And when we put that light on, you're supposed to come in and make sure we don't need an ambulance. And they act like none of that, what they want, it matters more than what we want. And that's not the case. It's the other way around. What we want matters more than what they want. And if they, like this girl today, or yesterday, when she put me in the chair, and I obviously needed to be changed again. Well, today, let me continue this scenario by talking about what she did today, because it's related. Today she puts me in. She doesn't change anything. She doesn't change my linens, which they're supposed to do. Why? Because the person who takes you out of the bed is the one who knows what needs to be changed on your bed. The person who comes in like on second shift generally doesn't know. I've been put at least 3 times that I know of. I have been put on a sheet that I know did not get changed and was dirty by the CNAs because they assume that what's on the bed is clean. Although all you had to do is look at it and you could tell it wasn't clean because everything leaves some kind of a stain on something. However, I guess sometimes when it comes from the laundry, it still has a stain on it. I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works, but I know at least 3 times I was put in this bed and I put it on top of a pad or a draw sheet or whatever, you know, depending on what they're doing. And it wasn't clean because the girl on the first shift never changed my bed. And I remember that. Well, she did that again today. And then today, you know, I asked her when I was still in the bed, I said, well, you know, make sure, because she took the bag out of my trash can. I said, well, make sure, because I told housekeeping to put bags in the bottom because they keep doing this. They keep stealing my trash bags, and I've got no place to throw stuff if they do that. I said, well, so she pulled it out. I said, because I got tired of having to tell her, well, to have to try and do it myself because I really don't have the dexterity to open up trash bags anymore. So I said, well, make sure you put the trash bag in at the bottom. And she said something about it was dirty or something at the bottom. And I told her, because she told me the same thing yesterday. And I said, well, housekeeping looked at it and said there was nothing wrong with that trash can. And she just stared at me like I had 3 heads and walked away. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So then they put me in a chair and she leaves. She left. Well, obviously the bed wasn't changed. She left, dirty linen is down there. She left my T-shirt I took off, sitting on a table over there that was dirty and needed to be washed. That's from me spilling like lunch or whatever on it. Things like that. Didn't ever put my socks on. I told her the other day that they were supposed to lotion my legs every day. She did it that day. She did it the next day. Now she doesn't do it anymore. So, and she beat feet out of here. And I thought she was coming back to change my linens, which is, I don't know why I think that, because she's changed the linen maybe twice since I've known her. She's told me many times that as soon as I get some linens, I'll be back in and change your bed. Never does it. So she beat feet. Then I put my light on. First I went out there, I couldn't find her. I was going to tell her rather than put my light on. So I just put my light on. And I'm sitting there getting her things all ready. And she comes in like she's angry that I put my light on. And zips straight over here to turn it off. And I said, hey, and my pillow had fallen down behind this mattress. Oh, shoot. Which is where it is now. I just realized I don't see it in that video, which means it fell again. Well, this wall, because this bed doesn't have rollers on the back of it, like the other bed did, it tore holes in this wall so that the bottom of the floor behind here is full of sheetrock, busted up sheetrock and stuff like that. It's been like that since I've had this bed. Now, if you go back in the videos, you can tell how long I've had this bed. I've had it for like, what, a week at least? So for a week, that stuff's been back there. Nobody's cleaned it up yet. Because I know it was from the first days, and then we had to pull the bed out. So it stopped doing that. Well, nobody's ever cleaned it up. And now my pillowcase, my pillow keeps ending up back there. I said, to the nurse today, I said, I don't mind if the fitted sheet has some sheetrock dust on it. I said, but I don't want to be breathing it in because it's in my pillow. I said, I would rather you change the pillowcase because, the fitted sheet, I could just brush that stuff off the sheet. But on the pillow, I have no idea where the hell it is, and then I'm breathing it in. I'm not breathing that. So even if it still has dust on it, which it probably does, I'm not breathing that in. But if the pillows come in contact with my head and my face, yeah, I'm going to be breathing that stuff in. So no, I don't want to do that. So I want a new pillowcase. I've had 3 CNAs now. Pick my pillow up and put it back. The second time I said, can you put it in there? She threw the pillow up here on the bed. I was in my chair. And dust flew off the pillowcase. I'm like, well, can you change that pillowcase? She started to leave. I said, can you change that pillowcase since dust flew off of it? Obviously, it was sitting in there, so she changed it out. Then this girl today, same thing. I tell her to get the pillow. She picks it up off the floor and throws it back on the bed and then goes to leave. Now, I didn't catch her with the pillowcase thing. I was going to after I told her about this other stuff that she needed to do. One was she needed to put a bag in my trash can. She didn't do that before. And I told her that, and she goes, something about housekeeping. I said, well, wait a minute, housekeeping is not. And she threw her hand up like that, and she shut the door in my face. Now, she's done this at least twice that I know of, that I can think of right off the top of my head. She's probably done it 3 times, because it seems like there was another time. But I can't specifically remember it, so I'm not going to say it. But, and I was like, what? And she grabs my shirt and she closes the door off the table over there because she realized she forgot to put that in the laundry. So my wheelchair keeps changing mode on me because I have to replace the buttons on the controller. So I was leaning back at the time. It took me a minute to get to do the right thing and then lean forward and go outside. No more than, let's say, 2 minutes, a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. So she had time to go up to the nurse's station. So when I heard them talking about something, I wasn't paying any attention. Evidently, she had said something about me in the call light because when I went out there, she said she wasn't going to. I told her, I said, first of all, I was getting hot because of what happened. There's twice now, just today, that she's refused to put a new trash bag in the can, which, believe me, every single CNA does every shift. I can put that bag in and put a new bag in there, or have somebody else put a new bag in there, and it'll be gone before you even put anything in it, because the CNAs continuously steal it. So I went over there and I went out there and I said, look, even though housekeeping is not going to clean that, I said, I at least need to have a bag in there, and I can't do it myself. Well, she said something, basically she wasn't going to do it. And I said, I got mad at her and said something about, look, I can't do it myself, you got to do it. And she said, well, at least I don't have to deal with you anymore, or something like that. And I'm like, this must have been the conversation that took place before I came out, when I was about to come out. So she's actually the nurse trainer, had said, well, you came out here, you automatically had an attitude with her. I was like, this is like, it's a conversation. I came in, I went back out. It took place over a few minutes. And then she took off and went to the break room, I guess. So and she said that the nurse said she told her not to mess with me until I calmed down. Now, I'm like, that again is retaliation for complaining. It's retaliation for complaining. It's discrimination. It's a supervisor telling a CNA not to pay attention to me or answer my call lights. That's exactly what it is. I don't care if she has, until I suppose I come back in here and all of a sudden something happens and I need an ambulance. She's not going to answer my call light. Why? Because I'm mad? Isn't that part of her job? If part of my disease makes it impossible for me to do these things myself and I have to have her do it, why is she getting mad at me because she has to do her job? And why is she getting mad at me, period? It's my disease. I can't help it. You think I want to be here? No. All right, let me pause this. I have to, readjust myself here. Okay, you might not have noticed, but I had this off for a few minutes. Anyway, so where did I leave off? Okay, she gets an attitude with me and then says something about how she doesn't have to deal with me anymore. So this must have been something, I don't know when exactly this conversation took place. I think it was when I was going out there to tell her she had to put a bag in there. Putting a bag in there is part of her job. Now, she's talking about having housekeeping clean this bucket. Well, first of all, it's her job to do that, not mine. Why am I being told that I have to talk to somebody, to have somebody do something? That's their job. They're supposed to make sure that hygiene is kept up. That's a hygiene issue. That's her job. But even so, all right, housekeeping right now there's some kind of issue with housekeeping. I've lost like 7 pair of pants, 3 pair of shorts, and this has been for almost a month now. I've been talking about this. The housekeeping has only been in this room. I think today was the 4th time that the woman came in here since she was hired. And that was like almost a month ago. She came yesterday, she came up and all she did was put a new, because the trash can was over by the door because the CNA wanted her to clean it. And that's when I started to tell her, well, she wants you to clean that out. She said, nothing's wrong with this can. She put another bag in it. She never came in here and mopped or nothing. That's all she did. It's like she was beating feet. Today she came in, she cleaned out the garbage can, I guess because I got into an argument with the CNA about it. And somebody said something to her. She cleaned it up, and then put it back in it and mopped the floor. Okay. Well, that's only the 4 times she's been here. The guy that runs the housekeeping, he came in here twice to bring a shirt in here or something. He came in here once with a dust mop. And other than that, there was a girl, a short blonde girl that worked here for a short period of time. I usually see her like all over the place, but she came in here, I think, twice. Now that's all that's happened in the last 2 months, maybe 3. All right. Now, and then this girl, when she tells me she's not going to put a bag in my trash can because she wants me to tell housekeeping to clean the can out, I don't even know if housekeeping is going to show up because I've only been here 5 or 6 times in the last 2 months because of the turnover that's going on. So, I'm supposed to do this even though it's her job. It's her job to make sure. Who's it hurting for her to put a bag in this can until housekeeping cleans it? Housekeeping has to take the bag out anyway and to put a new one in it. So why wouldn't they clean it at that time? I don't understand what her issue was with that trash can. But she has an issue, all right? And then that was a time for me to bring up one of the things I've been complaining about since I've been here, and that's how they keep stealing the trash cans, trash bags. So when she said something about that, I said, well, she said she wasn't going to put it in there or something. And I said, well, then stop stealing my trash bags. And then the other CNA who was standing next to me said, we're required, I think she said, whatever. She said they were required to remove that trash bag because it had something in it. Well, first of all, it's something you put in it, and it shouldn't have been put in there to begin with. But it was something you put in it. So if you're going to remove the trash bag, okay, kudos to you. Put a new trash bag in it, which was in the bottom underneath anyway. Never did that. When I was at River City Center, the other indicator, they would carry trash bags around with them in their pocket in a roll. Now these are bigger bags. The ones I'm talking about, like an office trash can. That's all they've given us here. So the bags aren't much bigger than the can. So the bags are like these little what is that, 3 gallons or whatever? If that, I don't know how that works. But over in the other place, they used to carry the bags like the big ones that you would use for like a huge trash can or something in like McDonald's or whatever. That's the rolls that they used to carry in their pocket. Well, they had the same trash bags. I've seen them on their cart. So I told her, I said, well, that's fine. Why don't you just bring a trash bag in with you and use that instead of stealing my trash bag all the time? Well, we don't have any. Why is that my problem? They expect me to be the one that takes the brunt of the responsibility because they don't have trash bags. What? So if they don't have the medication, that's my fault too. If there's no food, that's my fault. I mean, everything's my fault. Why is it my fault? If they don't have trash bags, get some trash bags. Get whoever it is to order the goddamn trash bags and stop telling me that it's my fault. You gotta take my trash bag, the only one I can use, because you can't get the trash bag you're supposed to use. I mean, I didn't even really care about that. Just put another one in there. That's all I care about. But that was too much for them. Couldn't do that. They wanted to beat feet and get out of here. I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. You're supposed to make sure that you do what I need done. Then we had another, along the same lines. Just because when she did this, I was like, that's exactly what she's doing, is what happened to this other woman. So let me tell you what happened to this other woman. This other woman, she moved. She had her own room, like I do. And then she wanted them to come in. She put on her light, wanted them to come in and do a couple of things for her and help her because she just moved. She had to put a couple of things up and she needed help with that. When the CNAs answered the call light, she told them what she needed to do, and they said, well, you'll have to pick one because all we're going to do is one thing for you, and that's it. That's their job. Their job is to do whatever you can't do for yourself. You're not supposed to pick something. And that's what they told her to do. She had to pick one there was 3 things she needed to do. She had to pick one of them because they didn't want to do anything else. What? And then these people act like I'm the ass for complaining about this stuff. Are you kidding me? This is like being in bizarre land, I'm telling you. I had said something to the nurse, about that sheetrock back there. I said, maybe, I am in Alabama now. Maybe they have a different definition of cleanliness. Because that to me doesn't look like it's clean. For my pillowcase and everything to be falling in there. And yeah, I'm the one who's at fault here. This reminds me of the punk teenage kid who doesn't want to clean his room when his parents tell him to. That's what the CNAs are like. I have in the bottom of my left-hand closet, because I showed you pictures not too long ago, on the bottom of there's a dirty shirt in there. In the bottom of the right-hand closet, I started putting my pull-ups and things that they were basically leaving all over the place. I started putting in, diaper-wise. Or pen-wise, however you want to put it, right? I started putting those in the right-hand side because I don't really use the right. I mean, they keep losing my clothes, so I barely use one closet anyway. So the right-hand side, I looked in there, and it's got a thing of pull-ups in there, a whole brand new thing. And then the old one, they just took the bag, which is garbage, and left it sitting there. They just took the pull-up out of it and then threw the bag back in there. So I've trash in one, dirty clothes in the other. And then over here on this table are some clean clothes that one of the nurses gave me because I've lost so many clothes, right? Well, those clothes are sitting over there. I can't hang them up myself. But the CNAs... This CNA today went through there and she picked out, I had her cut my pants open. She was using a little pair of cuticle scissors to just cut my pants, and they cut them pretty good. I mean, cuticle scissors are usually pretty sharp. But she's like cutting it, and I held it and said, just cut right there. She cut it the way she wanted. She cut it in this weird shape to where now I have a pair of pants that have a hole in them. And because of the shape of the hole, it defeats the purpose. Now I try to use the urinal with it, and it just gets wet because of the shape of the hole. That means that some of the material goes inside the urinal every time I try to use it. So when it came time to get dressed today, I said, just put a gown on me because I have to cut those pants. It's the same girl. But I'm going to make sure that I say where these pants need to be cut, because every time I let them do it, There was a pair of pants. I had to throw them away because they were cut so bad. It was like they weren't. It was just like might as well just be putting leggings on and not have anything on me. You know what I'm saying? That was what one CNA did, and then this CNA cuts this weird asshole. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if I need basically a fly in a pair of sweatpants, but it's over to the side because I don't have anything to close it up with. So that, you know, if you're seeing anything, it's just going to be like the top of my leg. And then when I have to use it, I pull it to the side so they can use the urinal, right? Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I mean, when I grew up, all girls knew how to sew and stuff like that. Maybe that's a feminist thing, I don't know, or racial, or what do you call that? Feminist, is that it? Whatever, where a guy thinks something of a girl. You know, what I used to sew too, so that's not what it is. But I can't believe that this girl hasn't even figured out how a fly should work, since she has to clean me anyway. She should kind of understand how things work, how the urinal works, and so I'm not even going to mess with her. I'm just going to, you know, I guess draw it myself where it's supposed to be. This is what I did one that came out the best. Which those pants are gone now. But I drew a line, and I took the pants to this woman with scissors, and I said, just cut it right up there along the line. She did, work fine. So I guess that's what I'm going to do now. So, now retaliation against residents' complaints. What nobody seems to understand is that when a CNA, like this one here, I just don't want to deal with you anymore. When a CNA says that, that's exactly what it is. It's retaliation against a resident for complaining. Because I'm complaining about the CNA. The nurse she's getting mad at me because I'm mad about the CNA not wanting to do their job. So that gives the nurse the right to be mad at me and defend the CNA, when why isn't she just mad at the CNA for not doing her job? Doesn't matter how mad I got, the CNA didn't do her job. That's what the nurse should be concentrating on. But instead, the nurse is concentrating on the fact that I'm mad about the CNA not doing her job. And this is repeated multiple times through this building. They're all mad because I've done this YouTube channel and I've complained about CNAs not doing their job. So a lot of them are mad at me because of that. And now they've been talking about it. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. And now I put in this formal complaint. It's gotten even worse. And what I've discovered is that I put it in the form of a complaint that has these bullet points about things that are not being done. Evidently, they're only doing what they do for me. Because I can sit in that chair and look across the hall and see that they're just piling stuff up in this woman's room. Which they try not to do in here. They still do it in here, but it's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be everything was just covered. Like that woman over there. Just covered with their stuff. It was like they didn't have to bring a cart with them because my room had so much stuff in it at the time that anything they needed, they would just go, oh, there it is over there. Oh, there it is. You know, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's supposed to be, this is my room. And they bring in what they need, or use the shelf in the bathroom, or use that closet, but keep it clean. Don't leave trash in there. Or I've got 2 drawers down here that are full of stuff that they've left just in the last few days. You know, I've got a gown. I've got 3 things of adult wipes. I've got, you know, soaps. I've got all kinds of stuff in these drawers because they just keep leaving it here. And then when they come in, they bring more stuff with them. Anyway, So let me go through some more of these bullet points, get this done and over with this video. Failure to investigate and report allegations. Again, that is intimidation. If you're not going to report, according to the administrator, he did. He resolved it, he investigated it, he resolved it, he reported it. News to me. The only way that any of that happened is if the administrator resolved it based on what the CNA said. And he believed the CNA and never believed a word I said. Because he never even asked me. So failure to investigate or report allegations, it's just another form of intimidation. If you're going to believe the CNA every time something happens, that's intimidation. That's trying to get me to shut up. Stop complaining. Because no matter what, we're not going to listen to you anyway. We're only listening to the CNAs, the people who work here. And let me tell you something. Most of these CNAs are full of shit. One of them, two of them, said I used the N-word. I'd never do that because when I was growing up, some of my best friends were black people. And now my grandkids are, some of them are black. So why the hell would I use that word? You know, when I was in the 5th grade, I had to ask my mother what racism, the word racism, what it meant, because I didn't even know what the hell it meant. Because I was in, this was during busing in the mid-70s, and I was in a classroom, and all of the white parents had boycotted this school. This was in East Boston. It was a bad neighborhood to begin with. But all of the white parents said, this was just a white school as far as I can remember. You know, I never barely paid much attention. But I know all of the white parents boycotted the school because of busing. They brought in a bunch of black kids from bad neighborhoods, I guess in Maverick or, you know, ways away, so that there would be this, was it desegregation? Is that correct? Was it segregation? No, desegregation. So they called it busing. They would bring busloads of black kids in to go to the school. Well, it was me and a bunch of black kids in these classrooms. Well, not a bunch because the class was mainly empty. It's like probably a dozen, say, black kids in this classroom. And there was white parents outside throwing bricks through the windows. I didn't even know what the hell racism was until that. And then when that happened, I asked my mom, I said, what the hell? What is racism? And that's when she told me, and I realized what it was. You know, but I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't even do it. I wasn't racist at all. You know, I still am not racist. And yet I used the N-word. I called them the N-word when they told me to shut the fuck up and slam the door and cussed me out. How about, you probably said that to save your job. That's what I think. So now we have all of these CNAs that think that you have the girl who lied and basically said that I tried to talk her into doing a blowjob for me or something. That rumor has come around. Then you have the rumor that I use the N-word, and most of the CNAs here are black girls. So how do you think things are going for me over here? You think maybe a little intimidation and discrimination is happening here? I'd say so. And then on top of that, I complain about them not doing a job. This girl from today was out here. I said, you got to put a trash can in. I said, do your job. Then the nurse said something about she was going to do it, and then she said she was backing up to CNA. And I said, fuck you. And I said, I just came in my room. This was 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning. Not one of them ever came in here and put a new trash bag in the trash can. If it's their job, how come nobody ever did anything about it? I asked them to. Told them I couldn't do it myself. Not one of them came in there. I don't care if I get angry. I have a reason to be angry. So if I come out there and I'm angry at somebody, why don't you try finding out what I'm so angry about instead of just assuming the CNA's right? Because that's what happens. They always assume the CNA's right. And most of the time, well, when I'm angry about it, they're not at all. They're fucking up. I had 2 CNAs refuse to give me water. I had 1 CNA cuss me out. I had another CNA called me a pervert. How is that proper behavior on the part of a CNA? And yet, they are all still here. So if they're doing these investigations and reporting the allegations, how come these people are still here? How come nothing's been said? Nobody's come to me and said, "Hey, we didn't realize. Sorry." Nothing like that's happened. In the last formal complaint that I gave to the administrator, I said that he had to do this investigations and file reports and give me a copy. I haven't gotten a copy of anything, not even the formal report that I gave him or the formal complaint. He didn't do a report on that either. So he takes the CNA's word for it and then says nothing to me. That's what do you call it? Discrimination, intimidation, verbal abuse, etc. I guess he doesn't think it is because I complain too much. That's kind of the definition of intimidating me, not to complain anymore, right? The only reason I get as mad as I do is because I've been complaining about this for 9 months and nobody's ever done anything, which in itself is a form of discrimination and intimidation. Now let me go through this. The staff telling us that the CNAs to ignore my calls. It's exactly what happened today when she said, "I'll let him cool off." That's exactly what she did. She basically told that girl she didn't have to deal with me at all for the rest of the shift. That's telling her not to ignore my call lights, don't come in here at all. And then she didn't come in here either. Failure to perform proper hygiene. It's what she did yesterday when she let me get in my pants and get in the chair when I had, obviously I needed to be changed. And then today she didn't even put any lotion on my legs. She didn't even do what she's supposed to do, according to my care plan. She got me up late, as a matter of fact. That's one of the other things. She got me up at 9:30, 9:40, something like that. That's when she came in here. So my care plan, getting me up at 9 o'clock, was adhered to until the 10 days was up on that first formal complaint. And then they reverted back to getting me up whenever. And that started yesterday. So yesterday and today, neither one of those 2 days, yesterday or today, I did not get up before 9, like my care plan says. Properly heated meals. Well, I take care of that kind of with the new manager, and she's going to be there on Wednesday to take notes. But hopefully that will be corrected. But it's still a complaint that needs to go to this company because we've been getting ice cold meals. I got a meal today. It was roast beef, right? I'm like, oh, well, it's roast beef, mashed potatoes. First of all, I said, the girl asked me, "Do you like mashed potatoes?" I said, "Yeah." She gives me a double serving of mashed potatoes. But I said, "Yeah, as long as there's salt and butter." She said, "Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean." So I get a double serving of mashed potatoes with no salt, no butter. The roast beef was like they took roast beef that they had cooked and that was warm and they mixed it together with some that they took out of the refrigerator, because some of it was warm and some of it was ice cold, and it was all mixed in. I was like, what the hell? I've seen this before with other foods. I don't know what they're doing. Mattress and bed rails, that's this. It only took 3 months in a formal complaint, but I left it on here for because it did occur. It was an abuse and it did occur. Reliable transportation. Now, I could make the assumption that, okay, somebody's licensed now, but I don't know for sure. I won't know until I go somewhere, which is on the 16th. I hope that that's what they're going to do. Supposedly, they're going to take me to see my doctor up in Coleman, which is like an hour away, or 45 minutes or whatever, because it's easier than having me see a neurologist here. So I guess they're having a hard time finding a neurologist that accepts Medicaid. It's the only thing I can think of. And they're responsible for my care, so they have to do it. And they're the ones that told me not to. I had an appointment with him in January. They told me to find somebody else. Now all of a sudden they've made another appointment with the same guy because they can't find nobody here. Because I told them, I said, I've asked and nobody's come forward and they'll let them do it because they're the medical people. Well, now they can't find them, so they're having me see the gang again. I don't know. All right, now in this corporate, it actually mentions the laws that have been broken. It didn't mention that on the formal complaint I gave to the administrator, but it does mention it in this corporate one. All right, remediation demands within 10 business days. Let's see what we got here. We have a corporate-led independent investigation with findings shared with me in writing. I'm pretty sure that's what it said in the one I gave him, and I never got anything. Immediate retraining of all Windsor House staff, proper residence care procedures. Yeah, that has to do with the call lights, turning them off instead of answering them. Not changing them when they're supposed to, not doing, all that, which I don't even do anymore. But it's stuff they should be doing with other people, and I don't think they are. Submission of the incidents to the Adult Protective Services, shuttle bus driver, etc. Well, that's pretty much it. This is 53 minutes. That's pretty much what happened today. I'm sending this formal complaint to the corporate. Either later today or tomorrow. I might wait till tomorrow just to see if he's going to give me anything. He should have already done it. I'm going to give him one more day, and then tomorrow I'll send it off to corporate headquarters. So like, comment, subscribe. If you've had similar situation, comment. Until next time, thanks a lot for coming by.